11,600 years ago, before the wheel, before writing, before a single grain of wheat was ever farmed, someone raised a ring of carved stone giants on top of a hill in southeastern Turkey. It is called Göbekli Tepe, and by every rule archaeologists thought they understood, it should not exist. This was built by hunter-gatherers, people with no metal tools, no farms, no permanent cities, and yet they quarried, carved, and raised stone pillars weighing up to 50 tons. It is, by thousands of years, the oldest monumental structure ever found on Earth. For most of history, no one knew it was there. In 1963, archaeologists surveyed the hill and dismissed it. They assumed the broken stone slabs poking through the soil were nothing more than an abandoned medieval cemetery. They moved on. For 30 years, the truth stayed buried. Then in 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt walked the same hill and stopped. He recognized what the others had missed. These were not medieval graves. They were the tips of buried megaliths, far older than anything he had ever excavated. He later said he knew within minutes that he could either leave and be a happy man or keep digging and never leave again. He chose to keep digging. What his team uncovered over the next 2 decades rewrote the opening chapter of human history. The pillars stand up to 18 feet tall, some weigh as much as 50 tons. They were shaped, moved, and raised using nothing but stone hammers and flint blades. And they were not placed at random. In 2020, researcher Gil Hackley used computer modeling on the layout of the oldest enclosures and found something startling. The 3 earliest enclosures were positioned using a single geometric pattern built around a perfect equilateral triangle. The builders likely stretched a length of rope taut to plot the shape before a single stone was cut. This was not a village that grew stone by stone over generations. It was planned in its entirety from the very beginning. And the pillars themselves are not just architecture. Look closely and they are watching you. The T-shape itself is a human form. The crossbar is a head. Some pillars have carved arms bending at the elbow, hands meeting at the waist, even a belt and a loincloth. These are not columns. They may be ancestors standing guard for 11,000 years. And carved across their stone bodies is a bestiary of the ancient world. Foxes, boars, snakes, scorpions, vultures with hooked predatory beaks. Almost every animal carved at Göbekli Tepe is dangerous. Almost none of them were food. The gazelle and deer that fed these people barely appear at all. Why carve the predators and ignore the prey? No one has ever fully explained it. Some believe the animals were totems, guardians meant to ward off evil. Others believe they were simply feared, and to carve a thing was to hold power over it. In one structure, excavators found a totem pole standing over 6 feet tall. 3 figures stacked one on another, a predator with no head, a human figure with no head, and below them both, a third face intact, staring outward. In the chandelier of a museum sits another figure, life-sized, carved from red limestone. No face, only a smooth blank head with 2 hollow, staring eyes and hands clasped over the stomach as if guarding something inside. Archaeologists simply call him a man. But the strangest stone at Göbekli Tepe is Pillar 43. Archaeologists call it the Vulture Stone. Across its surface, vultures with hooked beaks line up in a row. Below them, a scorpion. And near the center, a headless human figure, arms raised, with what looks like a disc hovering just above where its head should be. In 2017, a team of researchers proposed a startling reading of this stone. They argued its carvings might record a real astronomical event, a swarm of comet fragments striking Earth around 10,950 BCE. That date lines up with the start of the Younger Dryas, a sudden, brutal return to Ice Age cold that struck the planet for over 1,000 years. In this reading, the headless man represents catastrophe, the disk, the comet in the sky, the vultures, death itself, circling. It is one of the most viral theories in modern archaeology. It is also firmly rejected by the excavation team itself and by most working archaeologists who see no solid evidence the carvings depict anything astronomical at all. The truth is, we do not know what Pillar 43 means, and that uncertainty is exactly why the legend refuses to die. Even the purpose of the entire site remains disputed. Klaus Schmidt believed Göbekli Tepe was a sanctuary, a place scattered hunter-gatherer bands traveled to, gathered at, feasted at, and then abandoned. The world's first temple built before the world had cities. But newer evidence complicates that story. Excavators have found carved rainwater cisterns, tools for processing grain, and the round foundations of what may have been actual homes. People, it seems, did not just visit this hill. Some of them lived here. In 2017, researchers found something darker still: fragments of human skulls, deliberately carved with deep incisions. Evidence, many believe, of an ancient skull cult in which the bones of the honored dead were specially prepared and displayed. And every few decades, for reasons still unexplained, the builders buried their own finished pillars in rubble and raised a smaller ring of new stones directly inside the old one, again and again, as if the temple needed to keep being reborn. Here is the fact that changes everything. Göbekli Tepe was built before farming existed anywhere on Earth. For a century, archaeologists assumed agriculture came first, and that only once humans could feed a settled population did organized religion and monumental building follow. Göbekli Tepe suggests the order may be exactly backwards. Perhaps it was not farming that built the first temple. Perhaps it was the temple and the gatherings around it that pushed hunter-gatherers toward farming in the first place. And Göbekli Tepe was never alone. Across the surrounding hills, a whole family of related sites has emerged, among them Karahan Tepe with its own carved pillars and its own buried mysteries. Archaeologists now call this entire region the Tash Tepeler, the Stone Hills, an entire lost culture, not a single ruin. After 30 years of excavation, roughly 10% of Göbekli Tepe has been uncovered. 90% of it is still down there, waiting. In the next episode of Ancient Unearthed, we go inside the sites even stranger than this one.